York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back? Back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
He started in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and he ended up as Super Bowl champions. Take the Vince Lombardi home to Philadelphia.
And that was that Sirianni last?
It was actually Commissioner Goodell handing the trophy over. You know, and that's true. They started in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Remember, they took on the Packers.
That's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. And what a year it has been for Philadelphia. And they were dominating last night, and a lot of fun to watch. And today, everybody wants to be a little bit kind to a Kansas City Chief fan, but maybe also to a Philadelphia fan if they partied a little bit too much last night. Today's a good day to be kind there as well. Anyway, welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show here on a Monday morning, where it is 7:05 right now, and we get some cold weather coming, by the way, and also some snowy weather coming tomorrow. But we'll worry about that. In the meantime, let's be kind to one another. And I say that because I've got Kevin Smith with me here this morning, Kevin J. Smith, and Kindness Worldwide. And Kevin and I met at our press conference on the opening day, and we announced this, and we were talking the other day. And I'm telling you what, I have met a lot of happy people in my lifetime, but Kevin Smith might be at the top of the food chain. Kevin, great to have you on the show this morning. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm great. Good to see you, Gary. Thank you.
You've got a story to tell. And people say, oh, kindness. What are you talking about? It's more serious than that. It's really kind of a neat story. Tell people a little bit about where you got started on this. And you have since networked out around the world. Tell us the story, though, that got you on this trail.
Well, there's a story of Kindness Worldwide, and there's stories within the stories, and any one of them is fascinating that you wouldn't believe. So really what you're asking me to do is describe the indescribable. I mean, that's how fascinating it is. But,
I've been known to do that occasionally, by the way.
But long story short, on Good Friday morning 2023, my wife sent me to the grocery store on a routine errand to pick up 2 items, which I did just fine.
Right.
But I left one very important item behind, which was my wallet. And I returned home at 9:55 a.m. Ring doorbell camera shows me pulling in, and I'm all excited. My honey-do list is over. I got the rest of my day free, and reached my back pocket. My wallet was missing. And I frantically searched my car, and literally my finger's on the panic button, which is the ignition button in my car. And that precise moment at 9:57 a.m., like an angel out of heaven, a young woman magically appeared holding my wallet, asking if it was mine.
Wow.
And in that moment, I was just overwhelmed. You go from kind of a sense of despair to being overjoyed. And I thanked her profusely. I offered her a monetary reward. She refused to accept. As she was about to drive away, I had the impulse to ask her name. Her name was Brooke. And when I walked back inside, I was just overwhelmed by what had happened. It's an extraordinary act of kindness. She literally went the extra mile for me. I felt I should have gone the extra mile.
Didn't know you.
Didn't know me. And from that point on, just in my attempt to identify who this young woman was, thank her in a more meaningful way, it just took on a life of its own and became so much more. It really became about making a meaningful difference. And it inspired me audibly to form the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide, which has a vision to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. And this movement began right here in our local community of York, Pennsylvania. York is the epicenter of what has now become a global movement, literally spreading in communities throughout the world. And just has been an indescribable adventure that continues this very day.
As Kevin and I talked this morning, if you want to check it out, it's kindnessworldwide.org. That's kindnessworldwide.org. Check it out right now as we're talking. Why do you think that was such a profound thing? I mean, in today's society, we say, oh, someone returned your wallet? And some people say, that's really great, but then they move on. You didn't move on. You stopped right there and you moved on in another way. But why do you think that had such a profound effect on you at that moment?
Well, I think I was one that always would watch the news frequently, and I keep up with current events. And a lot of times without us realizing it, there's perception, there's reality. And yes, a lot of bad things happen in the world, but that is still the exception, not the norm.
Right.
And I was being conditioned without realizing it to kind of see the world through a lens that was increasingly half empty instead of half full. And this one act of kindness essentially snapped me out of this subconscious trance and made me see the good again. And made me realize that there's good and kindness everywhere. I just needed to open my eyes to see it. And so the theme of Kindness Worldwide is see the good, be the good, go the extra mile. So there's good and kindness everywhere, but it's not enough to just see it. It's important to be the good too. And go above and beyond, go the extra mile to be kind to others. And it really resonated. This story was actually covered by Channel 8 initially, and it went viral. It went all across the country, and which surprised me.
Right.
And it just shows that it doesn't take much good news to stand out in a world where there's so much negativity. And so one of the aims of Kindness Worldwide is to share these stories of kindness, to share these stories of the transformative power of kindness, and just remind everyone that there's far more that brings us together, that unites us than divides us.
Locally, I know Mike Muldrow, who is the police commissioner here. You even got to him, and he was handing out tickets, but not the kind of tickets we might normally think of from police. Talk a little bit about that story.
Well, one of the initiatives of Kindness Worldwide as part of our vision is to improve police-community relations.
Right.
And kindness citations was an initiative we developed to basically change the paradigm. It causes our police to see the good and recognize good citizens that define our communities, and for our communities to see the good in our police that defines our police departments. And Commissioner Muldrow could not have been a greater champion of this effort. Kindness Week Worldwide launched in November 2023 right here in New York. And Commissioner Muldrow was in his patrol car, and he was on his video cam, and he was out there really just looking for the good in our community and giving out these citations. And it was so magical to see, and to see his enthusiasm, his heart. Just such a wonderful, great guy. And of course, this year it's extended. First year we had York County Sheriffs and New York City Police. This past year, through a collaboration with Jamie Norpel and York County Safety Co-Lab, we had probably a dozen police departments in York County issuing citations. We also had police departments elsewhere. Westminster, Maryland was issuing kindness citations. So this movement is spreading well beyond York, Pennsylvania.
We got Commissioner Muldrow on later on today, and Jamie's on tomorrow. So we have those people involved here as well. You go from a wallet being returned to doing some things at a local level. It goes out nationwide, and now it's international. Tell us how that whole trail kind of built along the way. It's like a snowball that continued to kind of gain size as it's rolling along.
Well, I recently returned from Palermo, Italy. I gave a keynote address at the General Assembly of the World Kindness Movement, 40 nations represented. And this framework of Kindness Week, which began in York, Pennsylvania, which again happened organically, accidentally.
Right.
What does that mean? It's bringing people and communities together to celebrate what I believe is humanity's greatest asset, which is kindness. So we had the kindness citations. We had blood drives, symbolic of paying it forward. We had schools and colleges embracing kindness in endearing ways. Kindness cards being distributed by like Prince Street Cafe and other local merchants. And so accidentally, this framework for Kindness Week, which began in New York, I realized that if something so magical can happen here, it can happen anywhere and everywhere. So Kindness Week Worldwide actually spread. This past year, it was celebrated in not just locally in many municipalities in York County, but Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Westminster, Maryland, Chula Vista, California, Delphi, Greece. I've got ambassadors over the world, in Australia. And so our aim is to bring the magic of Kindness Week Worldwide to communities everywhere and anywhere in every country in the world.
What would you say to people? I know there are people sitting there right now who maybe have a little of that cynicism you were talking about earlier that we all kind of get into sometimes. We hear a lot of bad news, or we see things and that are, we say, what's wrong with this world? People say, how can we be like this? You don't look at it that way. You look at it another way. So for people that are sitting there rolling their eyes right now and saying, it's going to make you vulnerable. You're going to be easy pickings. A lot of people see this kind of thing as being open to being just naive. How do you answer that? Because I'm sure you've heard those kind of things before.
Well, first off, kindness is a strength.
Yes, it is.
And I would argue it's a superpower. I think represents the world's greatest source of untapped positive energy reserves on the planet.
Right.
And the reality of it is that, look, there's a lot of negativity out there. And
I'm just trying to jump over to Mark real quick. Your mic's on right now, Mark. Yeah, we were catching his trail mix was getting open there. But go ahead. Yeah.
But before this journey began, I was very frustrated, like we all are. A lot of bad things happen, but it's still the exception, not the norm. And I would point the finger at others. And there's a lot of finger pointing that could go around. But my world began to change, and I had an epiphany, if you will. I looked in the mirror, and I pointed the finger at me. And I realized that, look, I was a good person before Good Friday morning. I'm a better person today because it's one act of kindness. But I can't control the actions of everyone else. I can only control my own actions and behaviors. And once I realize that and just try to be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people, it's something I can control each and every day. My hope is that maybe I can influence, inspire others to be that reason as well. And if we each did just that and focus on what we can control and just try to be a little bit better each day and every moment, not only will the world around us change, but we can change the world at large. And then that's the vision, that's the plan. And it's amazing when you do an act of kindness, it's not so much what you do for someone else. That's important, being selfless and what that entails, but actually what you get back in return. There's actually a science behind kindness. And it's healthy. People live longer. What it does in terms of your neurons and your brain. I mean, I've gotten connected with, actually scientists from all over the world, and I've learned so much about it, but it's actually the healthy thing to do. It's actually a selfish thing to do.
Wow.
Be kind because it comes back to you multiples more than what you give out.
It's an amazing way to explain that, but it is interesting. KindnessWorldwide.org is the website right now. You can also call it 887-3852. That's 717-887-3852. And it is based right here in York. But I got to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin J. Smith, our special guest this morning, has maybe tapped on something. I say this to people a lot of times when people will say, I see him on the street, oh, do you believe this? I believe what's going on. I said, yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. That there's a lot of good things you could do from your own little corner of the world. We could do here from WOYK, or just being human beings and being out there. And one of the things you could do is just start with learning someone's name and saying hello and saying a name. The name is the most precious thing that we have in terms of having a little pride. You want to make sure everybody knows they matter. And it seems to me that's not a bad starting point either, Kevin.
Absolutely not. Well, at the end of the day, I think everyone just wants to be seen.
Yes.
Right? And be recognized and be noticed. And what are the little things are the big things.
Right.
And just a simple thing by, greeting someone on the street with a smile or hello. Saying someone's name, again, is a way of validating them, being seen. And so the little things are the big things, and sometimes we lose sight of that. But we got to get back to the basics. And again, there's way too much that divides us in this country, in this world, but far more that unites us. And again, if we just focus on those little things in each and every moment, we literally can be the change we wish for.
Kevin, we're going to take a break, but we want to come back. I'm going to have you stick around for an extra segment, and I want to talk a little bit more about this, about what can we do in terms of an organized thing. What are some of the organized things that you're doing? What can we do in our own communities where we are? A fascinating thing this morning. This is called Kindness Worldwide, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin J. Smith is the founder, visionary, and chief kindness chaser. But you can find it right now at kindnessworldwide.org. It's on the web. And if you have any questions you want to ask of Kevin, just text them to me right now at 833-478-4729. I'm Gary Sutton, back with more right after this. It is 7:17 on a Monday morning right here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.